And welcome into another episode of Tiger Territory, part of the Battle Territory Network, a Detroit Tigers podcast. I'm Kieran Steckley. With me, as always, is a man who is working on a theory that the true meaning of Hotel California is not hitting with runners in scoring position. He is Cody Stavenhagen. How you doing?
That's good, Kieran. I love that song. It still puzzles me. You can just read the Wikipedia page and it'll blow your mind a little bit. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's about not hitting with runners in scoring position. I like that.
Well, we are recording this. Obviously, the Tigers swept by the Los Angeles Dodgers in Los Angeles in a way that, you throw it kind of reminds me, honestly, to use a football analogy, it kind of reminded me of playing the Chiefs, where it's you think you kind of have them contained, and then Mahomes over the top, or Kelsey with a big yak play or whatever, and you're like, yep, that's why they're different. This series was a few reminders of, yep, that's why they're different, because
not like us is.
That's the other way of being not like us, right? not the bragging way. So, which I'm sure a song is you heard a lot of over the weekend, but sometimes the game is pretty simple. We've had a lot of people on this podcast that go into the complexities of this and that, and they're way smarter than you and I. But sometimes it's pretty simple. Sometimes you can just be like, hey, you're the Tigers. You got three guys that you need punch from in the lineup. That would be Colt Keith. That would be Kerry Carpenter. That would be Riley Green. Well, Colt Keith was 0 for 10. And Kerry Carpenter was 1 for 8. And Riley Green struck out 6 times. Then you look at the Dodgers. And they have three guys. I mean, they have more, but really three main ones that make the headlines. And that's Freddie Freeman, who had 2 home runs, and Ohtani, who was 6 for 18 and had 2 home runs, and Mookie Betts, who was 4 for 8, and some may have heard this before, had 2 home runs. So, that's got your series right there. Is that those dudes stepped up, and the Tigers had a lot of production outside of those three guys. Really, if you look at it, and we're going to talk about one here in a second, but it really just kind of comes down to that for me. How many series against good teams are you winning where Kerry Carpenter and Colt Keith combined for 1 for 18?
Yeah. I'd said entering that series that the Tigers should be extremely happy if they take 1. And in a way, it's unfortunate they didn't take 1 because they were right there in the first 2 games. And in a way, a couple things go different in game 3, and they could have been right there in that one. How well they played for the most part the first 2 games, even with the lack of situational hitting. It was almost like, can they get half a win for that or something, But what's the saying? This isn't a try-hard league. That doesn't count. You lost to the Dodgers. There still is a little bit of this perception of oh, look at the little Tigers. They played hard. They lost the games. In a way, game 3 was not close in terms of the final score, but maybe the game the Tigers had the best chance to win because Roki Sasaki was hot garbage, and he was out of the game early. They saw an array of bullpen arms. It was kind of the Dodgers version of pitching chaos for a day, and had an early lead, couldn't break through, couldn't mount much of anything against that bullpen. It's not an easy bullpen by any means, but they were set up early in that game in a really nice position, and really just couldn't generate much after that. I don't know that there are any other grand takeaways. You're playing the Dodgers. You weren't expected to do much in that series. You turn the page, and it almost feels like things really begin here in Seattle.
Sure. Yeah. And, there's a couple things with the Seattle series. We'll spin it forward a little bit later, but it's you drop 1 and it's oh, now you're 0 for 4. And then the percentages start kind of coming up, and then you start thinking about
what are the playoff odds?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, then you start thinking, because I put this on X, I was if you look at the projected win totals, there's a lot of them are pretty close. All right. So all these kind of fluky games, they'll be magnetized at a certain point if you're in a playoff race, which the Tigers obviously expect to be in. I would say that if there was one grand takeaway from this, Cody, is that I did see a lot of the same traits of last year's team this past weekend. And what I mean by that is, and we'll get the play of the weekend, the most talked about play of the weekend was an example of that. They're still going to be aggressive on the base pass. They're still going to look at manufacturing runs, via hits, and you're not going. And as of now, you're not really getting the whole lot of pop either. But finding a way and being in it and trying to play smart. Those things are still part of the makeup of this team, which obviously makes sense. It's like, it's basically all the same guys plus Torres, right? So like that was encouraging for me, is that I feel like they still had like the plan and the approach aspect of it was still there. And the reason, of course, why wouldn't the coaching staff, players, year to year, these things don't always translate, right? That's just a general fact. So I was encouraged to see that. And you would have felt really good about getting one win out of the way, just so you don't have this winless, thing kind of hanging over your head, because something fluky could happen Monday, right? And then you should keep having this discussion. It's like you always want to get the first win as early as you can. Let's go to the most talked about aspect of the weekend, Cody. Let's get the record straight on this. What was Margot actually out? Was he actually out?
Ooh.
Was he actually out?
Yes, he was out.
Was he out?
He was out. I know people don't want to hear that. I think he might have been out twice. Should he have been ruled out? I think that's a little bit of a different question. Was the replay clear and convincing? He was called safe in the moment on the field. Here are a couple of screenshots. Here's the play the night, the angle, the best angle I saw the night of. I think he might be out there. There's a tag on this guy's leg. Is his hand touching the plate? But I think I could be convinced he's out there. I would not say that is a clear angle. I didn't see this angle until the next morning. That looks pretty clear to me that your boy is out. If there's any doubt that glove is on his pants, the fact that there is a ripple, I think that's pretty clear. AJ Hinch submitted basically a query to the league. What did the replay official see? And they basically sent him this. Now, AJ Hinch disagrees with me. He said, I still don't see the out. I think I see the out here, Kieran. I really think I do.
All right, here's the thing. We have gotten out of hand when it comes to replay, because the bringing in of replay into all sports and into baseball specifically here was not so that you can move your Apple iPhone camera app really, really close on the TV screen and over the grain say it looks like, he was tagged there in this, that you can't see where the hand is. There was no angle. There was no sequence that showed a better angle than what the home plate umpire had 2 feet from it in front of him. Number one. Number two, if you have to do this much, I think it looks like blah, 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 then it's not clear and convincing. And you just let the call on the field stand. If he was called out and they took over a minute to review it, I would say, call the field. Call the field. Because in my opinion, it's not clear and convincing if it takes you more than 60 seconds to 90 seconds to figure it out. That's just my opinion. We have all these cameras, we have all these angles, and the fact that, AJ Hinch, obviously there's some bias there, but if he was clearly out, AJ would have no problem the next day being he was out. The same thing with Dan Dickerson on the radio. These are people, LA people call them biased, and that's fine. But these are people that are fully capable of being honest. And so the fact that this is even a discussion means it's not clear and convincing. And I think it's a misuse of replay, in my opinion. In the history of baseball, if that guy is ruled safe, he is safe, right? There's not.
They didn't have technology. I mean, we put this in for a reason. It's to get calls right.
But I don't know if they did get the call right.
I think they got the call right. I think there's a picture of the glove on the guy's leg.
Is it clear and convincing? I think there's a picture. I think there's a picture. I believe.
No, I think it's clear and convincing. I think if we would have had that angle on TV the night of, people would not have been as worked up as they ended up being. I don't, like I said, in the moment, I didn't think it was convincing. Seeing now what replay saw, I think it's fair to call it clear and convincing. Also, the Tigers came back, took the lead after that, and still blew it. So maybe it doesn't matter all that much.
I mean, there's still an opportunity to win that game. That is true. I just don't. It's a misuse of replay, in my opinion. To go that to get the whole call right is not actually what they're supposed to do. It's the clear and convincing part of it. Because
they're just supposed to not look at all the angles.
What they're supposed to do is that if it's 100%, it's 100%. So if it's not 100%, it's not about getting it right.
Argue about what's 100%.
Well, it's
glove on the guy's leg isn't 100%.
Yeah, on a zoomed in angle where you can't see where his arm is, and then you got to add up all these pieces. Like to me, like that's not just like getting it right is like the civil court system, and we're supposed to be doing the criminal court system in terms of the standard. And I don't think it met that standard. That's all.
I think it's a good discussion. I think it's fair discussion. I think we can stop talking about the play.
Well, here's the thing, Cody, is that if you want to see more replays of future games, we have a special offer via FanDuel Sports Network that will allow you the ability to watch these games and hear Jason Benetti and Andy Dirks and Dan Dickerson on occasion and Daniela Bruce, all friends of the podcast, talking about Tigers games. So listen to this special message from FanDuel.
What a transition, Kieran. You're becoming a natural salesman.
Take me out to my TV on FanDuel Sports Network. Yeah. Watch me some dingers and RBIs. I'm just glad they have my local team live for its root for the Tigers on FanDuel Sports Network. Tigers games, announcers, and more Tigers games. Did I mention they have the Tigers? Stream now.
FT fam, shout out to Homage. Make sure you check out the website and also use our code if you want a little 20% off if you're a first-time shopper. There are so many Major League looks in so many different ways that you can find on T-shirts. There's all kinds of pants. The starter jackets are fire this year, new and more improved, and just every team you're looking for, Kratz, they've got it for you.
I mean, I'm going to hit on the Phillies because they got the old school, the back in the day before I was born, my dad's old school P. But then the starter jacket with the maroon Phillies P on it. Oh, baby, get that, John, because you can wear it all year when it's cold and in the spring when it's warming up.
Yeah, go for it. Heavier, higher quality fill to take you from spring training all the way to the playoffs. We've got them. Check out the website again, homage.com. I love their Grateful Dead baseball line as well. And use the code Foul Territory for 20% off if you are a first-time shopper. Get after it, FT fam.
Baseball 30 is the code if you want to take advantage of a special offer from FanDuel Sports Network. All right. Another great transition coming up here, Cody. You know who's seen the ball well as if it was in perfect, crystal clear 4K HD? That would be one Spencer Torkelson. Spencer Torkelson, for those keeping score at home, had a 4-for-9 weekend. And that includes not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5. 5 walks, including, he only had 1 after opening day, so whatever. But Spencer Torkelson in to close the series, the first series of the season, is starting at first base and batting third, just as we all predicted he would in January. So how about it? How about this game? We love baseball. And how about Spencer Torkelson? Look, is he back? I don't know. But every single encouraging sign that you would want in order for him to be serviceable to average to some semblance of an impact bat, every check mark has occurred for him. And for that, at least right now in the moment, it's a great story, and he deserves a lot of credit.
No, 100%. I've said before, Torkelson has been probably the single hardest player to write about and talk about because, I don't know, it's been easy to ride the roller coaster, and then it's been easy to, now we have 1,400 plate appearances of data points that suggest maybe this isn't real. But then you watch it, and the guy's passing the eye test right now. You can't necessarily overreact to 3 games, but I think you can have some reaction to a month plus of really good performance at the plate, including spring training. And early on in spring, I was not that big of a believer. It was like, I'm glad the guy's doing well. I'm glad he's made some adjustments. How big of a difference is it going to make? But when you see him consistently put together good at bats, when you see him cover the whole plate and drive pitches that he was not driving a year ago, and then more importantly, you see him do that in the regular season against tough pitching, maybe important as anything, having disciplined at bats, having takes where he looks really confident. Remember last year, the Tigers were saying like his takes are telling everything. He's not in a good position. He doesn't look comfortable in his decision. The guy's locked in right now. The question, obviously, will that last? I don't know. I'm not here to make a prediction. If he keeps doing the things he's doing right now, he's going to be in a position to have success, and maybe that could be nothing short of a game changer for this Tigers lineup. What did you need this offseason? A right-handed power bat. Maybe you had one, and it was the guy you almost were moving on from. Like I said, hard to know, but even just talking with Torkelson, I had him one-on-one for just a couple minutes the other day, and it was probably the most convicted I have seen him. You can tell he's feeling good about things. You can tell he is feeling confident. I think it was just some of the most adamant he had ever been with his words and talking about, I can climb back from anything. I've got a lot of fight in me. In some ways, the words he was saying were kind of athletic cliches, but they weren't necessarily things I'd heard come out of the mouth of Spencer Torkelson before, at least not in a long, long time. So I'm pretty encouraged right now. Let's see if it continues.
Well, the thing is there was a graphic from one of his postseason swings in Cleveland, and you see the setup and the load in Los Angeles, and it is completely different. It looks like I think Petrie, either Petrie or Dickerson akined it to the athletic stance and basketball or football, the general athletic stance, and he was not he felt more in control. He didn't feel overextended. It's just it's kind of a layman way of kind of describing it, and that's all well and good. That's important. The quote, I was thinking back to when you played a clip of him when he got sent down, and he could still claim the swing is the same. It's everything else is different, which more good on you if that's how we want to interpret it. But I really do think the number one thing is the takes. I like that you include that in the story. I like that you brought that up here, because these were not. I mean, he had a better eye than the umpire in a couple of these at bats, to be honest.
Not wrong. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he felt assured of himself. He felt honestly, he looked like J-Hen in terms of approach, just in terms of just knowing the zone. He knew the zone very well this past weekend. And then, he's able to, be one of the hitting highlights of the team, including the home run on opening day. Like I said earlier, involving the aspects of the team and whether they were there from last year, is it sustainable? I feel those elements are in place there, and I think for Torque, the elements are in place for him to again be productive. I don't know what that means. But it does. If he's carrying himself in that way in the batter's box, I think he can be productive, and I think you might actually have to make him an outfielder if you really need to have him on the field, because
if he's hitting like this, you can pencil him in at DH more days than not. So
sure.
Even against right-handed pitching, that was one of the questions early on, and why I advocated for him in the outfield. If he's hitting this much, but maybe it simplifies a lot, or maybe it doesn't. Yeah. What else are we supposed to talk about here in a second? Gleyber Torres, man. The one right-handed bat the Tigers did get, could he already be hurt? that would be unfortunate. Glaber's been swinging it well. Obviously, after his homer the other night, came up grabbing his side. Kudos to Glaber for like being a pro, a New York Yankee. He was standing at his locker after the game, knew the media would want to talk to him, and gave a concise, reasonable update. Didn't make any grand proclamations, but said he was feeling good. Kind of explained he had been dealing with some soreness for a few years. Joked that maybe he's just getting old. AJ Hinch gave him an off day. Sunday, the weirdest Sunday off day of all time, by the way. We'll see if he's in the lineup here Monday night against the Mariners. I don't know. It's one of those things that could be like, okay, if he needs 4 or 5 days, you just go ahead and put him on the 10-day IL. Supposedly it was not an oblique. Supposedly he doesn't even need an MRI. But also, like I've said, I don't know. I'm always skeptical about that stuff. I think the Tigers got to hope he's healthy. They have enough injury woes already.
No doubt about that, because if there is any sort of IL stint, is there a slam dunk option? You know what I mean, guys? I know they put Colt Keith at second base.
Yeah, there is. There's Colt Keith at second base, Torque at first, bring up a little Jahan, right? I mean, Jace Young would also be a candidate here, but I think given you can do that shuffle, you could DH Jahan. I think that's the move.
That is probably the move. But when I say slam dunk guarantees 2 points. I'm not sure
is
this
clear and convincing.
I'm not convinced. I don't know if you.
I'm convinced it's Jahan. You don't need a lefty bat in Jace, and you got to keep Kreidler in center field. So what else would we be doing here?
Well, you're still gonna have, I don't know, if Colt Keith might be in a mental funk. I don't know what's going on with him. He didn't look that confident in the field. He didn't look that confident at the plate. It's just 3 games, but it was not. I think you put on X like he'll be glad to leave Dodger Stadium. It's like sight lines are off. I don't know, something.
I mean, just could not get his timing down. Was fouling balls off near his feet, and there was just no adjustment. And it was kind of all 3 days. Again, I still have plenty of faith in Colt Keith's ability as a hitter. But what did I predict? He was going to homer the first game in Seattle. I hope he took this off day and ventured out into the water or something. And I don't know. It went to church. It was Sunday. I think that might be a good move.
Got some fresh seafood from the market there.
Maybe stay away from that seafood. You never know. Actually, I'm probably going to go get some seafood after this. I hope he comes out looking different. That was obviously an incredibly poor 3 games. Colt knows it. Even his throw to the plate was poor. He just, I don't know, looked super out of sync. It was strange.
What about Riley and Carp? Do you just kind of chalk that up to just a bad weekend, or
Riley had, especially that third game of that series, just did not look to be seeing the ball. He was chasing. He was even in the outfield. It didn't seem like he was seeing the ball well. I'm not sure what was up with that, but early in the series, he put together a couple nice ABs, had a big hit. It was really just Sunday that game 3. That was a terrible game for him. And then Carp, not a good series at all. What was he? 1 for 9?
1 for 9. 1 for 8. 1 for 8. 1 for 8 with a walk.
1 for 8 with a walk, but it wasn't as ugly as things were with Colt Keith. And Carp got a couple lefty at bats.
He did.
So maybe we should keep that in mind. Didn't necessarily look particularly good in the left on at bats, but you can almost forgive him a little bit too. And even for Colt. Even though Colt's expected to hit lefties and did hit lefties for average last year, he wasn't necessarily getting the easiest matchups for a good chunk of that series.
How about Margot almost pacing this team in hits, man?
Who would have thought?
There's
we all predicted, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because again, we could spin it forward here for a second. One of the ways that if you want to come across feeling okay is that you got production out of guys that you're not necessarily banking on, kind of like what I said earlier, and then you feel very comfortable like Carp, Green, and Colt are gonna, figure it out in a way. And it's just like, you're playing the defending champs, like opening all this stuff about opening day, opening weekend. It's like, all right, now maybe you can breathe a little bit, and you just kind of like their process had them capable of winning each game. So you're not gonna face Murderers Row, every single series. So like in that aspect, you feel like if you just kind of stick with it, that old cliche, it's like there's actually some merit behind it with 3 games of evidence. But with this Seattle series, Cody, we have ourselves our latest player spotlight, and we're sticking to the mound. FanDuel Sports Network, go to Baseball 30 to get this special offer. Jackson Jobe, man. Jackson Jobe is making his, as much as we talked about him, we saw him last year and it was all exciting. Like, he is getting his first start of the year. It's on the road, and kind of needed. He kind of needs you to come out hot, Jackson, because the team's 0-3. Just a reminder for everybody, he did get 16 innings in spring training, and you're going to be on the edge of your seat watching him pitch this year, and that's just, it's going to be an experience. It's going to be an experience. It's going to be okay, but it's going to be an experience. 13 Ks with 6 walks. He gave up 5 home runs, 7 earned runs. So don't go to the bathroom when Jackson Jobe's on the mound. So you got to watch him. You got to keep him on the FanDuel Sports Network. Yeah, something's going to happen. You got to keep him on the FanDuel Sports Network and use code BASEBALL30 for a special offer here. But Jackson Jobe, easy money here. Again, player spotlight.
Yeah, Kieran, I'm low-key, not even low-key, I'm straight up excited to watch Jackson Jobe's start. In a way, it feels like he's debuting all over again because this is his first start. This is the first time we're seeing Jackson Jobe in Jackson Jobe's role in the major leagues, and I have no idea what's going to happen. Obviously, we saw a lot of the good of Jobe in spring training, and we saw a lot of the areas where he is still learning and growing in spring training. He was prone to loud contact. He gets to start in the most pitcher-friendly ballpark in baseball against a lineup that is not necessarily all that potent. Maybe that could bode well for Mr. Jobe. I wouldn't be surprised if he threw 6 innings and just dominated. And I also wouldn't be surprised if he, gave up 3 homers or something. Literally no idea what to expect, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's kind of one end of that spectrum or the other. He's an electric pitcher, obviously. Fun to watch, even if he's maybe not generating the outs. Just how nasty his stuff can be is fun to watch. I'll have a story up about him on The Athletic. Interesting story. 2020, this guy was taking pitching lessons in a barn and very quickly became the number 3 overall pick. The guy, Alex Marney, who gave him those pitching lessons, Oklahoma State alum, is now leading pitching works in Oklahoma City, and it's a legit place. Michael Fulmer goes there. Andrew Heaney goes there. Former Tiger Jordy Mercer is an investor. They have like 30-plus guys in professional baseball and 300 clients across all levels. Super smart, super data-driven. It's like a little more local version of a driveline baseball. And Jackson Jobe and Alex Marney, in a way, kind of built this thing together, have followed a very similar timeline. Marney's an important person in his life, so hope you guys will check out that.
Is this the pitching lab with the dog that's behind the screen?
It's the one with the dog. I didn't ask about the dog. What was I doing?
Well, there'll have to be a follow-up after he throws a no-hitter on Monday.
There we go.
And so, yes, you can watch that game and all other games on the FanDuel Sports Network, FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. Use Baseball30 for an extended free trial. So there you go. A lot of good things happening, and a lot of good things you got to see, including one Jackson Jobe. All right, Cody. Real quick, I did want to touch on this just for a couple minutes. You did write about it, and it was something that we had joked about in a prior episode. But we did finally see how Jack Flaherty was going to get his World Series ring. It was on Saturday. I instinctively was going to say Sunday, too. It was on Saturday. Really, it was actually really neat. Like, Mookie, Freddie, like, a lot of the guys, like, came out and, like, hugged him, congratulated him, like made him feel like, it's like you're the opponent, but like part of the team still in a way. Like that's an example. Like that's why championships are so important and awesome and all this stuff is because those guys are connected for life. Like they have an exclusive brotherhood. Only the people on that team will ever be able to know what it was like to win the World Series that year, right? So like it was a pretty cool moment. It seemed like Jack was a little bit more, for lack of a better term, human. Like he just he let it kind of let out that he was feeling like how special that was.
Yeah, it's like I said after the opener, Jack's the type of guy who keeps it cool and hard to figure out what's kind of going on in his mind sometimes. But you saw the emotion on the field when he got his ring. The embrace with his mom was touching. And even after his start talking to him, I think it was kind of some of the most raw emotion we've seen from Jack in an interview. He admitted to things hitting him and called it an out-of-body-ish experience, just pitching back in that stadium, back on that mound, on ring day. And I asked him, were you surprised that it hit you? And he kind of admitted he had been playing it cool, downplaying it to family, downplaying it to friends, downplaying it to the media. But inside, he knew what it was going to be like. And when the moment came, he certainly felt it. I think as important as anything, Kieran, Jack Flaherty pitched really well for the Tigers.
He did.
I think, he was pretty good in spring training. He had one outing where he was way off, and the velo, you never quite knew. The velo was there. The execution was there. It looked very much like the Jack Flaherty we saw in the first half for the Tigers last season. You got to hope that continues because that would be a big, big deal.
Yeah, huge deal because I think even though I believe that last year's team happened as a result of the trade and how they had to go about things and blah, blah, blah. So I don't want to say like, oh yeah, just throw Jack Flaherty on that team. But like to get a whole year of Detroit Jack Flaherty, like makes you feel very good about like the team's chances and, to make the postseason. So yeah. And again, like if he would have had some weird game, that would have been understandable given the emotions. The fact that he was able to, put it all together mentally and physically, I thought was actually really encouraging because I think the most human thing on the planet would have been for him to not be on his game, given everything that was going on. So,
sure. All
right, that was fun. That was a good little discussion. We're spinning it forward. We're just going to see how these Tigers do in Seattle. Reminder: we are 3 days. If you're just coming back, getting with us, Cody and I, we do this podcast 3 days a week. We have Austin Jackson as a co-host as well, getting him about once a week here on the podcast. This is Tiger Territory. You can follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Cody Stavenhagen. I am at Kieran_Steckley. Pod page is at Tiger Territory _. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, we are there. Follow, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff if you feel so inclined. So for Cody Stavenhagen, I'm Kieran Steckley. Everybody have a great day.